There's nothing the dog loves more than dried leaves. Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Have a bit of a chat about what's happened in Spain this last week while I go for a walk around my local neighborhood here with my dog. And let's be honest, it's been a busy week, as we know. Now, the first thing I want to get out of the way is the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, and my condolences to people out there that may be mourning her death today. It happened yesterday, or at least it was made public yesterday during the live stream that I was doing, and I'm going to be honest, it threw me a bit. One of the things that you see when you're doing live streams is how many people are watching the live stream, and yesterday I noticed that there weren't many people watching it, so I knew something must be going on. And then somebody in the comment section or the chat section said that the Queen had passed away, so I went to the local newspaper here and saw the news and decided to cut the live stream short, which I thought was the best thing to do. And I didn't cut the live stream short because I'm a royalist and I was sad at the fact of her passing, but as I said, it threw me a bit, and of course it is monumental news, or at least yesterday it was monumental news. Somebody in the comment section after yesterday's video questioned my actions, saying that would I do the same thing if another head of state died? Probably not, but as I said, Queen Elizabeth was not an ordinary head of state, and again I'll say that I'm not a royalist, but to be on the throne for 70 years in the UK and to oversee all of those changes that have happened in those 70 years, a fairly important person in my opinion, and no doubt for a lot of people out there. And to get an idea just how big this news is, you only have to look at the Spanish press today and press basically all around the world to realize that this is a huge news story. In fact, every newspaper here in Spain is leading with that today. The radio this morning, all they could talk about was the passing of Queen Elizabeth II and the future of the monarchy in the UK, and also in the Commonwealth countries as well, the countries that have Queen Elizabeth or had Queen Elizabeth as the head of state. Of course, now Charles III is the man, and the debate now turns to what's going to happen from a monarchy point of view in those countries especially. I'm not going to go into it too much now, but I'll just say that when Australia had a referendum back in 1999, I think it was, I voted for a republic, so I'll put that on the record. Now, it's a lovely day today, as you can see. Only a few clouds in the sky. The majority of the sky is blue, and the weather's going to change soon. Enjoying the last few days of summer, or the first few days of spring, depending on how you look at it. And a few people out and about riding bikes, a couple of people over there on their bike, a few people out walking the dog, a few people doing exercise, taking advantage of the sunny days before the weather turns, which I think is going to be next week, if I'm not mistaken. I think next week the rain is coming, and we're going to get a few days of rain at least. So that's positive because it is very, very dry here at the moment. Now, I mentioned some interesting stories in yesterday's live stream. One in particular from The Economist that was published earlier in the week about Magaluf in Mallorca, and how they're trying to clean up the nasty tourism element that they have that's related to alcohol tourism, turismo de borrachera as they call it here, drunken tourism, and the Mallorcan government trying to clean that up. And they've introduced, as we know, a series of measures to try to get rid of that nasty element. And one of the measures is, for example, drinks limits. You can't have more than a certain amount of alcoholic drinks per day with your meals, with your lunch, and also with your dinner. Of course, at the resorts, you can go to a bar and drink as much as you like, but at the hotel, at the resort, you are limited. What else have they done? They've tried to stop happy hours and things like that, 2 for the price of 1, which were fairly common in that part of Spain. And also some bars and restaurants have banned football strips, especially English or British football strips. People that go to bars and restaurants dressed as if they were playing football, supporting their local team. I don't know what would happen if it was an Australian rules football strip, but it's the UK football strips, the Man U's, the Liverpools, the Chelseas, the things like that they want to get rid of because they associate those football strips with loutish behaviour. And I shared this Economist article earlier in the week with one of my students who lives in Palma de Mallorca. She doesn't live in Magaluf, but she obviously knows about Magaluf. And she was a bit upset by the article, thinking that it was giving the island a bad reputation, making people think that the only tourism that's going on in Mallorca is this turismo de borrachera. As we know, it's not the case, and I explained that to her. And she also said that, in her opinion, Magaluf is only a very small part of the island, and she doesn't understand why it's always highlighted. Because, as I said, she doesn't go there. A lot of people from the island don't go there. It's basically just a place that's isolated for this type of tourism. And as I said, the idea is to get rid of that tourism, not only in Mallorca, I think, but also in other parts of Spain where this type of tourism takes place. You could go to Benidorm, for example, and see that. There are places on the Costa del Sol, there are places in the Canary Islands where this tourism takes place, this drunken tourism, and it's not a good look for Spain, in my opinion. We know it happens in other parts of the world as well. It happens in Bali, no doubt happens in some parts of Mexico. It happens where young people go on holiday and drink a little bit too much because, as we know, drinking is a favourite pastime of a lot of young people, drinking and drugs nowadays. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Mallorcan government can get rid of this type of tourism. As I said, an ugly side of tourism here in Spain, in my opinion. Now, the other thing that's been dominating the press this week in Spain related to the energy crisis, the rising cost of everything, the rising cost of living, the rising cost of basic foodstuffs. And as I mentioned the other day, one of the Spanish government ministers suggested putting a price cap on basic foodstuffs like milk, bread, eggs, you know, the basics like that. And she was met with criticism internally. Her own party thought that it wasn't a very good idea, reminding people that Spain is a free market, therefore free market economic policies should apply when it comes to the prices of these basic food goods. But of course, Ms. Díaz, Yolanda Díaz, the minister in question, saying that it is legal to cap basic foodstuffs. And the minister also pointed out that some of these basic foodstuffs, for example, potatoes and lettuce, I think she said, have gone up around 500 and 800% respectively. So very, very expensive, and also, as we know, having an impact on the basic family here in Spain when it comes to their cost of living. So what do you think? Do governments need to step in and put a price limit on these basic foodstuffs? Let me know in the comment section below. Good idea? Bad idea? Another story that popped up in yesterday's live stream, one of the news items that we looked at, was about the famous Toro de la Vega event in Tordesillas, which is a small city in the province of Valladolid here in Spain. It's just off the A Coruña highway, one of the main highways that takes people from Madrid to Galicia. And of course, Tordesillas is on that road, or just off that road. And every year they celebrate a festival called Toro de la Vega. It's been going on for 500 years. Now, if you're not familiar with this festival, basically what happens is that a huge bull is set free in the streets of Tordesillas. People chase the bull through the town with sticks and lances, poking it, prodding it. They get it into an open field where the bull continues to be prodded. Back in 2018, the regional government in Castilla y León prohibited killing the bull, so I think it was allowed to go free. Basically because of animal rights groups protesting, and of course locals were up in arms back then, and it has led to a lot of confrontations over the years between animal rights activists and locals in that area who believe that the tradition should continue, and that because it is a tradition, it doesn't matter what happens to the bull. Animals can die, of course, in Spanish traditions, as we know, like bullfighting or this one here in Tordesillas. But now the current government, the PSOE and Podemos coalition, has decided to try to shut this festival down altogether. They've gone to the courts to try to shut it down, arguing that it is animal cruelty, and under new laws that have been recently approved in Spain, this type of event should no longer take place. And as was to be expected, this has divided opinion here in Spain. It's also divided the political parties as usual. Parties on the right side of politics in favour of festivals like this because of the tradition. That's what they argue. And of course, parties on the left side of politics against these traditions. So Spain, again, a divided country when it comes to festivals like the one in Tordesillas, the Toro de la Vega. And that's the question: should festivals like this one that have been going on for 500 years, that have become a tradition, continue, or should they come to an end? That's the debate, and also let us know what you think in the comment section below. My opinion is fairly clear. I don't think there is a place for festivals like this one in the current times that we are living, so I think it would be a good idea to nip festivals like this one in the bud. There's nothing the dog loves more than dried leaves. And the final piece of news that caught my attention this week was the story about a house occupation, or squatters that had moved into a guy's house down in the Murcia region, and he decided to take the law into his own hands and get rid of the squatters on his own, or with the help of 3 friends, I believe. They armed themselves with baseball bats, went into the home early in the morning probably, and kicked out the squatters. And of course everything was filmed, it was on social media, and it's come to light, as we know, that the owner of the home could face charges of aggression for the way that he got these people out of his home. This divided opinion on the channel, as I mentioned the other day. Lots of people in favour of what this guy did, lots of people were against what this guy did, because of course not a good look to be aggressive with anybody, and nowadays the law is very strict with this. And an interesting thing that I read is that a judge spoke about this case, and he said that squatting in Spain is not an issue. However, every now and again there are very high profile cases. This one, for example, brings it into the spotlight, but in his opinion it is one of the less frequent crimes in Spain. But as I said, if you read some of the press, you might get the impression that squatting or having trouble getting people out of your home if they do move in is a serious problem, but according to the judge it is not. So good news from a legal point of view, in my opinion. So basically the moral of the story is that if you are unlucky and people do move into your home, and I'll say that word again, unlucky, because according to the judge, as I just mentioned, not common here in Spain. So if it does happen, don't take the law into your own hands. This judge also said that the court system is quite swift when it comes to getting rid of squatters or ocupas, so he has faith in the law, and I think you have to let the judicial process run its course, and as I said, not take the law into your own hands. But hey, that's just my opinion. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.